Hey, welcome to Stay Tuned with Mikey and Chad. This is our brand new podcast. We're really excited about it. We've got quite a few guests that are going to be joining us in the next few weeks, and we're lining up some more. So I think we're going to have a good time. I am Mikey.
I'm Chad, a.k.a. Fisherman Chad. Looking forward to this. This is going to be a lot of fun. We've got an incredible lineup of guests here in the next couple weeks, like Mike said. I'm really looking forward to this, and I think you guys are going to really enjoy it.
Yeah, so I mean, if you guys have heard us before, we're going to talk sports, we're going to talk life. We're really all over the spectrum. So, how you doing, buddy?
Man, I'm doing good. Life's been pretty good for me lately.
Yeah,
it's going really well. Work's great, family's great.
Good.
How about you, man?
Doing great. I mean, work's great, family's great. I feel the same way you do.
Life's good.
Are we just living the life right now, or what?
We'll see here soon. Unfortunate part is, I think where we're standing right now, obviously both of us are diehard Colts fans.
Oh, man.
It's going to be kind of a rough season to start. Hopefully they can rebound pretty quick, but right now I think it's going to be a pretty rough season.
You know what? I think I'm going to hold off judgment until we know how long Wentz is going to be out. Because they say 5 to 12 weeks. Who the fuck? 5 weeks means he might miss the first week or two of the season. 12 weeks, we're looking at some serious what the hell moments, because we don't have a backup quarterback right now. We do, but we don't. You know what I mean?
We don't have an established backup quarterback.
Easton has had apparently he had a great day yesterday, according to Frank Reich. And Sam Ehlinger, he's doing great as well, but we don't have that really. The Colts never looked beyond wins. We don't have.
In reality, they never looked beyond Peyton. They never looked beyond Andrew.
Yeah.
Now they're not looking beyond Carson.
Right.
And even Phillip at that point.
Yeah, and that's a huge flaw for the Colts, because as we know, it's like the preseason just fucks the Colts every single year. I don't know what it is, but man, we've gotten the worst luck. We've got no pun intended. We've had the worst luck in preseason in the past few years. That it's disheartening. You start out the year. You're not even start the year. You start out before the year in OTAs and everything, and you're thinking, hey, our team's going to look pretty solid this year. And then, boom, something happens. We got Quentin Nelson with an injury. We got Wentz with an injury. We got Ryan Kelly with an injury. And it's like, man, everything that we've thought that we're going to have this year, what are we actually going to have? And the good news is, Jonathan Taylor is looking very solid in preseason. They say he is mid-season form at this point. So that's great. Michael Pittman Jr. is looking great in the preseason, which we've been wanting. We need him to kind of step up and possibly take that first or second spot in the wide receiver depth chart.
In looking at Pittman, he showed glimpses last year of just how good he really can be. Jonathan Taylor, obviously, that kid come in, to me, call me a homer, but steal of the draft last year. Just because of the things that he was able to do when Marlon Mack went down. He stepped into that lead role, and he really shined.
Yeah, and I feel like our running back core is really our strong, as far as offense goes. That's the strongest asset we have
outside of our offensive line.
We've got a couple of guys that could be injured for a while, so we'll see what happens with that. But you look at Taylor, you look at Mack, and then you look at Nyheim Hines.
Yeah,
we've got a pretty solid running back core right now.
There's not a lot of running back cores in the NFL that you can go, 1, 2, 3, and you can say, okay, all three of those guys are better than three of the Colts.
So much depth, and it's that's what I'm liking about their team right now. there's a lot of questions right now about the Colts, and it's it's one of those things where we're just going to it's a wait and see thing, and I fucking hate that. It's
to me, and it's no judgment against Carson Wentz. Nothing against him at all. But I think with Quentin Nelson going down, I think that's the biggest blow to the Colts.
My judgment is against Carson Wentz because we knew that he's susceptible to injuries.
But I think every quarterback's susceptible to injury. It's just the position they play.
Wentz has had that. He's had that stigma for the past couple of years that he is very susceptible to injuries, and I thought it was a good pickup. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, and there's a lot of quarterbacks out there though that are highly susceptible to injury. That still, when they're on the field, they're top 5, top 7, top 10 quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Ben Roethlisberger, he's aging fairly quickly, but when he's on the field, there's not a whole lot of quarterbacks better than him. The guy can flat throw the ball around. Russell Wilson, he goes down every once in a while, but he seems to bounce back pretty quick. Yeah. You got a lot of guys out there that are like that.
What do you think of? So there's a lot of talk about bringing in Nick Foles.
No,
you don't. You say no.
No, I don't. As a fan of the Indianapolis Colts, I do not want to see Nick Foles in a horseshoe.
Really? Because
no.
Look what he did when Wentz went down a couple years ago. They won the Super Bowl.
Sure, they did. They had an outstanding receiving corps. They had a top 5 offensive line in the league. And they had a top 5 defense in the league.
We have a top 5 offensive line in the league.
Correct. But we don't have one of the best receiving corps in the league. And we don't have one of the best defenses in the league right now. We have a top 10 or 12, but we don't have a top 5 like Philadelphia had that year.
Yeah. I guess.
Those guys were able to carry the load a little bit. Yes. Nick Foles was an outstanding quarterback for those period of games.
Yeah.
But I don't think that he is someone that week 1 to week 16, 17 now that can carry a team.
I'm not expecting Foles to carry the team for the whole year. We need a Band-Aid at this point.
I truly want to see what Jacob Eason can do.
I want
to see this kid play. I want him on the field, and I want to see him behind the number 1 line and with the number 1 running backs and the number 1 wide receivers.
Yeah.
And I want to see what this kid can do.
And the thing is, like I said, Easton had a really rough day on Tuesday. Bounced back yesterday, had a great day. Frank Reich even said he's like he was. Tuesday was not a great day for him. Wednesday bounces back. I like to see that from him because.
That's a big deal. You want to be able to move past your flaws. If you have a bad day, move past it.
And I don't know why the Colts just don't really give him a chance. You know what I mean? Like, a guy has to go down in order for them to give him a chance. He was a good, solid college quarterback.
When he came out of high school, he was the number 1 quarterback recruit in the nation.
Yeah.
The kid clearly has some talent.
Yeah,
we need to explore that talent behind there's one of the best offensive lines in the league.
There's got to be something that the Colts know that we don't.
One thing I hear
about Eason.
He likes to party. He likes to go out and have fun.
Yeah.
Who does? You know what?
He's 20 fucking 2, 3 years old.
He's 21, 22, 23. He's a young kid. I ain't mad at him. But when you're making the money that he's making and now having the opportunity he has, you got to stop that mess. Stop that. Get to business. Yeah, and maybe he's dumber than a sack of hammers, and nobody's just letting the cat out of the bag. And he just can't know. He don't know the playbook.
There are some guys in the NFL, even when they've gone through all this, they've gone through college, they've gone through the draft, they've rose up to the NFL. Some guys, once they just never grow out of that phase. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate because I feel like Eason, if he really applies himself, I feel like he could be a solid, I wouldn't say a top quarterback, but I feel like he could be a serviceable quarterback. If when like right now, if Wentz goes down, I feel like he could be that guy to step in, but he's not. Apparently, at this point, he's not showing it.
According to what's coming out of camp right now, from what I'm hearing from some of the people up there at camp watching right now is he has the size, the speed, the arm strength, all the intangibles that every quarterback in the NFL would love to have.
Right.
But he's just missing that one little thing.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know what it is yet, but he's just missing it. But they're saying a lot of quarterbacks would dream to have some of the attributes this kid has.
Really? Yeah, because I actually haven't watched him play. But
Not since he was at Washington.
No, not. Actually, you're right. I mean, I haven't seen anything since his college days, and it's kind of crazy because. Sorry, I just went into my head. What do you think about the Phillip Rivers rumors that are coming out right now? Is there any substance to that, or is it just? I mean, he said he would come back, but not for a whole season.
I really have nothing but respect for Phillip Rivers and his entire career.
Yeah,
that guy did things on the field and was gutsy, and still found time to have 10 kids. But for that reason and that reason only, I wouldn't mind him coming back for 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah.
But it goes back to what I said previous. I absolutely want to see what Eason can do behind the number one line against a defense that's not as good as the Colts. And just see what happens.
And who the hell
give him a shot.
I mean, he could be that. He could be
that Tom Brady diamond in the rough.
He could be, and that's Tom Brady only got his chance because Drew Bledsoe went down.
Correct.
And once he went down, Brady was their horse.
Mm-hmm.
And because it's funny. I actually watched the documentary the other day.
Same thing. Steve Young and Joe Montana. Similar situation.
Same thing. Aaron Rodgers, fucking Brett Favre.
Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre.
Yeah.
Brett Favre moved on. Aaron Rodgers stepped in.
I guess they were grooming.
They were grooming Aaron Rodgers, but again, he stepped away. Aaron Rodgers stepped in and became a Hall of Fame quarterback.
Yeah. God, what do you think about his situation right now? I mean, is he just,
this is our first episode, Mikey. I don't want to talk about Aaron Rodgers right now. We want to keep our listeners. We want to keep our viewers. I don't want to talk about Aaron Rodgers.
Well, I know, but
he's a hot topic right now.
He's basically just saying fuck you to the team, and he's getting paid this year, and he's their starting quarterback. And he's literally like, I don't give a fuck about the Packers. I think it's hilarious.
I think he's a big ass baby.
I mean, yeah.
Personally. And I think he, I don't know the guy. I can't speculate on the type of personality.
Right.
From what I hear and from what's being said and how he talks to the media and all those motions, kind of seems like a jerk. I mean, that's putting it very mild.
I like him. So, that's just me.
I'm a humble guy, though. I'm incredibly humble for any opportunity I get. And this guy, he's making $40 million a year, plus all of the endorsements, plus he's famous. He's getting all this and, everything he ever wanted in life.
Right.
It just doesn't seem like he's very humble. And for me, I don't like people that aren't humble. If you're not humble, then we have nothing to talk about.
You got to look at him, though. I mean, he's,
But if fame takes away your ability to be a good person to everyone, whether they make $100 million a year or they make $10,000 a year.
That's tough, man.
If you can't be humble to all of them, then what kind of superstar are you really?
I'm just saying it's tough. It's tough to be that guy in the spotlight, making the kind of money he makes, and to just be just a humble, I'm just going about my job. I'm bringing my lunch pail to work every day, just doing my job. That's not reality.
But I guess for me on the outside looking in, because I'm clearly nowhere near those guys as far as money, stature, ability, fame.
Yeah, it's easy. It's easy for you.
It's easy for me to say certain things, but at the same time, I know a lot of very famous individuals, and they're incredibly humble. From all walks of life, whether it be whether it be entrepreneurial type of fame, or restaurateurs, or fishing, or outdoors, or sports. all the people that I've ever been around, that I've surrounded myself with, as far as famous individuals, they're unbelievably humble.
Well,
and they have 10 times the fame that Aaron Rodgers has.
People have 10 times the fame that Aaron Rodgers has.
Yes, absolutely.
Seriously.
Yes.
He's one of the most recognizable faces in the country.
So is a lot of other people.
No, I get that, but I'm just saying that he's,
I'm not going to put names on the air.
I understand, but I'm just saying that...
They'll be guests eventually.
Okay. But I don't blame him for how he's... I mean, I wouldn't say I don't know. I don't blame him for how he's kind of... Because they brought Jordan Love in to basically say, he's taking your spot. Fuck you. Get out of here.
But they didn't. They didn't give him a timeline.
But we want to keep you until he's good enough to be a quarterback.
But they did the same thing to Brett Favre, and Brett Favre didn't throw a fit like a little ass baby.
Yes, he did.
No,
you don't remember that?
No,
he did this for 2 years. He said, "All right,
He sat behind Brett Favre for 4 years.
Brett Favre said, "All right, I'm leaving next year." He did this 2 or 3 years in a row.
Sure. Because Brett Favre went and got his money.
And then said, "No, I'm coming back." He's doing the exact same thing. You can't say that he's not doing the same thing Brett Favre did. Because Brett Favre did the exact same fucking thing. He did.
Let's put the shoe on your foot. What would you do if somebody was coming in to take your job?
I'd take the money, man. I would stay. I would stay and take as much money as I could.
Exactly.
I'm not mad about it. But
why put an entire riff through an entire organization that's as prestigious as the Green Bay Packers? You're going to take the money and you're going to stay. Yeah. So why put a giant riff through there? So now you have a turmoil in the locker room.
Right. I mean, I understand that,
and that all boils back to being humble.
But you have to look at what he's doing right now with the Packers. He brought in all of his boys. He brought in Cobb. Bringing in Nelson. I'm bringing in all these guys.
But those guys aren't going to do anything to help the Packers. They're going to do nothing to help the Packers.
Why wouldn't they?
They're past their prime. Those guys didn't do shit for the last teams they played on. There's no way those guys are going to help.
Because they didn't have Aaron Rodgers as a quarterback.
Oh, shit. Do you really think that Randall Cobb had Deshaun Watson thrown to him last year and didn't do a damn thing?
Yeah, but Deshaun Watson also had more...
Physical ability, they're right there neck and neck.
Yeah.
There's no way you can justify Randall Cobb's going to go back to the Packers and he's going to be an all-pro or he's going to be, a Pro Bowler. There's no chance in hell.
I didn't say he'd be a Pro Bowler.
But is he going to be serviceable? Maybe. Yes. Is he going to catch 40 passes? Probably.
40? Yeah, he's going to catch fucking 40 passes. That's...
Exactly. But that's all he's going to do. He might have he'll have 6 touchdowns and 40 receptions.
Yeah.
That's about all he's going to do.
I think he's going to have more than 40.
No.
That's...
There's too many really good receivers on that team right now. They only lost, one? That Aquarius St. Brown?
Yeah.
Is that that's the only one they lost?
Well...
Valdez-Scantlin's still there.
Yeah.
They've still got Devontae Adams, who's going to get 150 targets.
He's getting paid, man.
He should. Devontae Adams, get paid.
He needs to get paid.
He's an animal. He's top 2 in my opinion in the league.
Yeah. No, he totally is. I'm not gonna.
And it'd be hard pressed to pick another one over him that you would take to start a team with. Pick a wide receiver that you'd take over him to start a team with.
Over Devontae Adams?
Yeah, pick one.
Probably. I mean, I really can't think of many receivers that
exactly.
I mean, God,
dude's a beast.
That's kind of funny you said because I really can't think of many receivers that would take it. Maybe. Oh God. Jesus, that is a tough one.
Just by age?
That really is a tough one.
Just by age?
That really is tough.
Jefferson out of Minnesota? Just because of age?
No, I wouldn't take Jefferson though because he's
just by age.
He's still pretty young.
Sure.
So, and actually,
do we have a special guest calling in right now?
I feel like we have a special guest. I feel like we do.
Hello?
What's up, buddy?
Why can't I hear anything?
Ladies and gentlemen, we're trying to get a special guest on right now.
Can you hear us?
Hello? There we go.
Can you hear us?
Now I can.
There you
Oh,
are.
incredible.
Ah, we got you now, buddy.
Everybody, please welcome
In the world.
the one and only Tony Donahue to the cast right now. This is absolutely incredible for all of us. I
Doing great,
really
man.
love it.
I'm really glad you joined us, man.
Well, I'm glad to be here. Thanks for the invite. And one of these days, we'll definitely have to do it in person.
Absolutely, man. So we were talking Colts.
What's going on? They're frozen.
We were talking Colts. We were talking Packers. What Aaron Rodgers is going through, but we're going to switch topics and go to the Pacers now.
Absolutely.
Because I think Tony and I are two of the biggest Pacers fans in the city, and I can't. I mean, that's just
I can't argue that.
That's the truth. So we've got the Malice in the Palace documentary coming out. Do you remember where you were when that happened?
Yeah, so I actually do. I was a freshman in high school, I believe, and I was actually in South Bend, Indiana, and I was at a hotel. I was in a hotel. My little sister had a gymnastics competition, so we were all going to go to the College Football Hall of Fame the next day.
Oh yeah.
And I remember, I think it was a blowout. I don't exactly remember what the score was. Wasn't it like a 15-point game?
It was.
At the point and a half?
Pacers were on their way to winning the game. Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember getting in the shower, and I was just, game's over with, yada, yada, yada. And my dad yells, like, whoa, come check this out. And I'm like, what? And I come from a family of jokesters, so I'm
Yeah.
like, okay. And he's like, dude, you got to come see this. And I was like, oh. Or then I was like, you just couldn't believe your eyes. And, I was 14 or 15 years old, so I didn't really understand like the ramifications. I was a wrestling fan, so I was like, maybe we can just go fight. But, yeah, that's one of those things that I think maybe outside of obviously 2000 when the Pacers went to the finals, that was probably the best team that they have had in my lifetime, which is fortunate.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I always thought was that team was probably the best team we've had in years, and it just got blown the fuck up because I remember where I had just gotten home from something, and I had my first apartment. I was like 21, and I said, well, I'm gonna see what the Pacers are doing. Literally 10 seconds after I turned the TV on was when Ben Wallace pushed our test and everything just blew up. And I said, oh no, this is...
Yeah, it was a nationally televised ESPN.
ESPN game, yep.
And, with my time with JMB, I think one of the best conversations that we ever had about that, he's had Ron Artest on a few times, but Mark Monteith was sitting there courtside. He was the Pacers beat writer at the time, yep. I believe. And he was sitting there courtside, and I just couldn't. I sat court. I've been fortunate enough to sit courtside a few Pacer games.
Yeah.
I just couldn't imagine what would be going through my mind if that broke out around me. Because what I always say about sitting courtside, if you've never done it before or if it's your first time, you don't realize how big these athletes are until you were courtside. If you're up in the upper decks and you look down, a 6'9" guy isn't going to seem as big as when you're standing next to him and you're like, oh shit, these guys are built. Yep. These guys work out. These guys, I'll never forget. I took a picture of it being in the second row behind I think it was the Pelicans bench 2 or 3 years ago, and Steven Adams was playing.
Oh, big dude.
That's a monster.
I was like, and then we had J.R. Smith jumped like right over me one time with the rock. And that's just not something I'd ever want to be a part of or be involved with. So
yeah,
I'm forward to the Netflix documentary. I think we'll hear some things. You don't make a documentary and only have things in this documentary that other people and everybody already knows. So there's going to be some behind the scenes type conversations. Hopefully, it cost the Pacers. You could probably say 10 years, 12 years of that franchise. It took them that long to recover. They weren't doing shit with guys like Dunleavy or Troy Murphy or Travis Diener or whoever else that they brought in.
God, you threw out Travis Diener, man.
Wow.
And then, you draft Paul George and Danny, it really cost Danny Granger a lot of his career.
It did.
Yeah, it cost Danny Granger 4 or 5 years of his career.
I feel like Danny Granger could have been such a better player if it wasn't for the whole stigma of the pace, what do they call them, the thugs, whatever you want to call it. I mean, he was such a great player. I don't think a lot of people realize how good he could have been. You know,
and his knee injuries didn't help that either. But I think if you were to ask me what really stands out from that moment when the malice was going on was thank God that Jermaine O'Neal slipped on the ground because he would have freaking killed that guy.
I love watching that clip. He's about to get in that dude and just nail him, and he slides, and it's like, oh God, that he would have killed that guy. Like
he absolutely. No, there's no doubt in my mind that guy would. If he wasn't dead, he would not be right.
No, and you know, but like you went back to, Tony, you're talking about how big these individuals really are, you know, and how built they are. You know, you can see, you know, we all stand on the sidelines and we watch these guys, but if you were to get hit by one of them gentlemen, you're in trouble. You know, they're not gonna. That's not something that you're gonna recover from very fast.
Yeah, I've sat courtside a few times, and you look at, you know, you watch games and everything. Even like a guy like McConnell, who we'll get into in a minute, he's a big fucking dude, man. Like, you don't realize it when you're watching on TV because he looks like the shortest guy out. He looks like he's 5'8", but they're all big dudes, and it's to go one-on-one against one of them. You're gonna have balls, or you're really fucking drunk.
Yeah, and I think what also, obviously it all happened in the spur of the moment, and one thing leads to another, and things are flying. But you mess with any kind of team. I don't care if it's, you know, if you're playing 5-on-5 pickup basketball at a gym in Fishers, or you're an NFL team, your basketball team. There's a brotherhood bond usually in those locker rooms. And in that locker room with the Pacers that year, a team that they knew could win the NBA championship, could beat the Pistons, could go to the finals, probably end up taking on the Spurs. Yeah. There was bond, there's a brotherhood in that. And when you see your brother, you know, basketball is a very distinctive game. You're going off your instincts, and you move off spur of the moment. And when you see one of your brothers or one of your teammates who's a friend of yours that you're spending every day, every flight, every meal with, you're going to go and you're going to help. And regardless of if, you know, Tinsley runs in the stands. I mean, Reggie was obviously hurt and was probably maybe his last chance to ever get to the NBA Finals. But, you know, once that gets going, you become, I mean, maybe once or twice in my life, but when you get in that mindset where you're protecting your brother, like, that's all that matters. And you don't think about, I'm going to be suspended for 30 games, or I'm fined $500,000. No, I'm going to go get my boy who just ran up into the 17th row tonight.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I'm wondering, do you think there was a player or just a person, a fan, whoever, that really is at fault for the malice? Is there any one person you can point to and say this was on them? This all happened because I feel like it was the fan that threw the cup at Ron, and because I feel like if they wouldn't have done that, he would have sat on the scorer's table and chilled out for a second. Maybe there might have been an ejection or two, but I don't think it would have gone further than that.
So I think the initial foul that was committed on Ben Wallace I didn't think was that.
It wasn't that bad.
Wasn't that bad of a foul?
No.
90s NBA, that would have been play on, basically. You know, nowadays you probably would have got a technical and thrown out.
Oh, you got a flagrant one. Yeah, exactly. But
yeah, I think, I mean, Ron, as we knew, had a temper. You know, we had seen that as Pacer fans. We kind of knew that. And kind of like Lane Stevenson. You know, you had to deal with the antics, but, you know, the things that he done on the court were worth it. But on top of that, if that fan doesn't throw that beer, then, you know, and it's Detroit, for God's sake. So I'm not like, you know, I wasn't like surprised by that. But, you know, I think if the fan doesn't throw the beer, we're not talking about that. Maybe we're talking about the Pacers going to the NBA Finals and more. So,
right, exactly.
You know, and I've actually personally met Ben Wallace a few times, and I've never talked to him about that day, but he's always been a super nice guy to me.
He seems like a sweet guy.
I actually, so when I was in high school living outside of Chicago, we actually had bowl season tickets, even though I've been a Pacers fan all my life. But I'm not going to know to go into games. So I met Ben then, and then we actually have a mutual friend here at Indy. So I actually met him walking out of the Conrad one time and had about a 10-minute conversation with him as we waited in line at the Penn Station right there.
Nice. That's awesome.
But I just hope with this documentary, as I'm sure you guys do, we learn a little bit more. Obviously looking back at it now, 17, 18 years later, there's going to be different to it. But, you could say what you want about what happened, but none of us were in that moment, and none of us knows what it's like because you don't know where Ron Artest is from Queens, New York, so you don't know what he did. How many street fights did he probably get into while he was balling on the streets? You don't know. So they'll come back.
One thing I hope, Tony, just from the outside looking in, is I hope they don't turn it into the quote unquote the Pacers were thugs and this is what they did. I really hope that doesn't happen, and I don't think ESPN would do that. Well, but I really don't see that happening.
I feel like most of us already know most of the facts about it. Like we've seen the interviews since then. Like Steven Jackson's given interviews, Reggie's given interviews, even Ron's given interviews. The funny thing is, Ron seems like such a sweet guy.
Well, and to that point, you look at Steven Jackson. He's moved on to have a career doing NBA analyst work for. So has Reggie. Ron Artest has done a lot of good things for communities, for the country, for young kids. So it's not like these guys that were involved. We don't really hear from Jermaine O'Neal that much, but I thought that he was a very private guy anyway when he had his career with the Pacers. But it's not like these guys went on to get arrested or went on to gamble away up or whatever. These guys have a legit second career, still involved in basketball side of the NBA. So that's why I'm with you guys as far as look, these guys didn't go on to go to prison after they left the NBA. Guys went on to do good things and have decent and really nice careers outside of playing in the NBA.
It was just a volatile team. Steven Jackson has a temper. Ron Artest, obviously everyone knows, has a temper. So, I don't know if everyone knew that something was going to happen at some point, but I knew that at that time, the Pacers and Pistons rivalry, that was something, man. That was really that was a real just we were the two best teams in the East, and every game was a dogfight with them. And
I think, here's me on this real quick, we don't see that in the NBA anymore.
No, not at all.
In the 90s or the early 2000s, where maybe a little bit when the Pacers and LeBron come to town. But
I was going to say Pacers and Cavs were kind of the same way.
Yeah.
But,
Maybe eat in the playoffs there, but it's because the team, it's a player-driven league now.
Yep.
And everybody's all buddy-buddy because they don't know who's going to be their teammate the next day. And on top of that, I think it has a lot to do with the fact that every year it's a different team making a deep run of the playoffs, which can be a good thing. But, in the 90s, it was, the Pacers were going to be there. The Bulls were going to be there.
Yeah.
The Sonics and the Jazz were going to be there.
You knew who was going to be in going deep in the playoffs every single year. Exactly.
And that's how you build rivalries. Is you have competitive, meaningful games during the regular season, and then you battle it out through a 5 or 7 game session or a 5 or 7 game playoff.
Right.
And we just don't have. There's too many guys that it's musical chairs on which player is going to be wearing what jersey the next year, so there's no consistency.
Dude, that's why I don't buy jerseys anymore because I know that. Do I?
I buy old school player jerseys. If I'm going to buy a Pacer jersey, it's going to be like Rick Smits or Reggie Miller.
Exactly. I'm not going to buy a McConnell jersey. Oh, speaking of McConnell, what do you think of his new deal? It's a lot of money for a 6-man.
No, it is, but I think that's just the way that the NBA is. And, I think what also goes into that money is the Pacers look at it and say, this guy brought energy. He brought something that is, I hate to say it again, Lance Stevenson-esque. It's something that can't be coached. Brings that extra energy. He makes everybody else around him up their energy, up their efforts. And I think what a lot of it is, too, is simply the fact you pay that money so you don't have to see him on another team. Because that dude would end up in Philadelphia.
Yes.
He might have Chicago, he might have ended up in Milwaukee. So you're keeping more so than you're paying him to bring that energy. You're also paying him to stay on your team and not have to deal with the feistiness and the tenacity and the defense and the I love TJ McConnell, obviously.
Oh, I do too.
and the fiery compassion that he has every night, you're keeping him off another team that you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, I mean, I just think $9 million, almost $9 million a year for a 6-man. Is it too much? I don't know, but I mean, he brought that energy every night because you know
But you got to look at guys.
He also did that, you know, every time. Well, not every time, but like a lot of times the other team inbounds the ball and he's right there stealing it, getting a quick 2. I love that from him. I'm not mad they spent the money on him, but I'm trying to figure out where they're gonna go with this because you know they let McDermott go. Holiday. I mean, I'm not mad about Holiday being gone. What do you feel about Holiday?
Yeah, I mean, look, there was with the when they made that trade, you obviously kind of knew that they were going to say, all right, T.J. McConnell's going to be our backup point guard.
Yeah.
Aaron Hall gave you 2 or 3 years to develop, but just hasn't developed, and there's just no room for you to develop here because we've already got 2 guys in front of you, and we've got Cassius Stanley too that I know can play the 1 and the 2, but he's mostly a point guard. So. Yeah. He was just kind of the odd man out. I think we saw that with the rotation last year. And I think Rick Carlisle, he has always provided his teams with good backup point guards. I think like J.J. Barea comes to mind. What was it, Jose Calderon?
Oh, God, I forgot about it.
Yeah. So, like, he's always wanted a proven backup. And you kind of need that right now because, let's face it, Malcolm Brogdon's tenure at the Pacers has been an injury fest. So you don't know if he's going to play, 82 games. Is he going to play 50? Is he going to play 58? That's a question mark. So you have to have a solid backup there that can step in and play those starter minutes when needed.
And that's another thing I'm wondering about is Brogdon. They want him to be kind of a leader on the team. Is he a leader? Like I'm not really. I'm kind of like on him being like the leader of the team. You know what I mean?
My thing with the Pacers is they haven't had a good leader in a while. Okay, Miles, the guy that's going to step up and lead. It seems like Sabonis can do it at times. It seemed like everybody jumped on T.J. Warren's back in the bubble, but he
was scoring 50 a game in the bubble. So I mean,
yeah. But they haven't had that consistent guy. Like that's why I would love to see a guy like Thad Young back in this lineup.
Oh God.
He was a guy that he knew his role, but he was the glue to that team. He was the leader of that team. There was no doubt about it. You knew it. Miles has not wanted to step up into that leadership role.
No, not at all.
The bonus has done it at times, but I think it has to come from your point guard position, and I'm not sure Malcolm Brogdon's that good.
I don't think he is either, and that's the thing. Like I see Sabonis. He has those leadership qualities occasionally, and then he just goes back and forth, and it's so frustrating as a fan to see him, not be consistent with it. And then you've got Miles, who could obviously be the leader of the team, and sometimes he's just in nowhere land. You don't even know he's on the floor. And I mean, obviously, you know JMV more than I do. I go back and forth with him all the time, and he's a huge Miles fan. I'm like, what do you see in Miles that you want him to stay on the team so badly,
My thing with Miles is it seems like there's a level of mental weakness there.
Yes.
And it was funny because when the Sabonis trade happened, JMV and I were sitting there, and I was like, dude, Sabonis could be a stud, and he's like, wow. And then him and I kind of had that separation and had that battle between Miles and Sabonis, and who's the guy they should keep. But my thing with Miles is everybody's always says one of two things when defending Miles is one, he's 23 or 24 years old. Well, there's 23 and 24-year-olds in the NBA.
You can't keep using that argument forever. He's only 28. He's only 35. Yeah.
And then the other one with that, too, is, he's such a rim protector. He's such a great shot blocker. And I said, okay, bear with me here. So he blocks, let's say, 3 shots a game. Let's say he blocks 3 shots a game. That keeps 6 points off the board.
Right.
How many blocks wind up back with the offensive team?
What?
2. And on top of that, 3 blocks is great, but giving up 22 rebounds to Andre Drummond.
That's the thing.
Kind of those on the offensive side, that takes away from that 6 points. If they gave up 6 points, if he blocked away 6 points throughout the night, okay, well then how many second chance opportunities did Philadelphia or Miami or whoever has a big bruising center that can move Miles around. How many second chance opportunities
God.
did they off of those offensive rebounds that, again, Miles gave up? And then he just sometimes lives too much outside of the 3-point line, which drives me nuts.
And he does. He does live out there, but he's not, because he's not a big bruising in the middle guy, you know. And that's kind of always been his thing. But like you said, he'll block 3 shots a night, but a guy like Drummond's going to get 20 rebounds against him. So it's what are we're giving up this for that? So I mean, that's a great point. And you know, I'm trying to figure out why we still have him on the roster, because I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think Miles and Sabonis on the floor at the same time is playing the 4 and the 5. I don't think that's, we could do better, which is where I guess Isaiah was his name, Jackson?
Yeah.
Isaiah Jackson will come in. What do you think of him?
Yeah, I thought it was a good pick. I'm interested to see what's going on with Goga. Goga was going to play summer league. That's a personal issue.
Right.
I thought I wasn't the biggest fan of the pick, but I thought late last year, and maybe it was because of Coach Nate. We'll see. But I thought Goga made some good steps in the right direction. We'll see. I think there still could be a trade for Miles. I think the sooner you do it, and I think it's still overdue, the sooner you do it, the more you'll get back.
Yeah.
And, I thought it might happen on draft night.
That's what I thought.
Maybe you get somebody that is desperate for a big man late in the season that's a contender. Maybe it's Golden State. They seem to have some interest in Miles, maybe going next to James Wiseman. Maybe you can get Andrew Wiggins back or a Kelly Oubre in a first-round pick back.
Yeah.
But Sabonis and Miles on the floor at the same time doesn't seem to work. Sabonis is a bruiser. He makes mistakes, yes, but he's a guy that can get those rebounds and that can score. He's opened up his 3-point game a little bit because that's just the way that the NBA is trending right now. And I'm not saying it's great. I mean, I kind of hold my breath every time that he shoots a three.
Yeah, right.
But with Miles, it's just like if I were to get knocked out right now and wake up in a coma in 3 years from now, and you told me that Miles Turner was playing in China, I believe it.
Yeah.
I would believe it in a heartbeat.
Right.
But if you Bonus was playing in China, I'd be like, well, what happened? Like, what something?
Right. I feel like there's a much bigger ceiling for Sabonis than there is for Miles. And that leads me to my next. What do you think about Duarte? Is he going to be a mainstay for the Pacers? Is he going to be... Because for some reason we've been looking at big men for a while. Is he going to be... I'm sorry, not Duarte. Jackson's a center. Is he going to be more in the rotation? Because for some reason, the Pacers don't like bringing in young guys and playing them many minutes. Because we had Alize Johnson. Obviously he didn't play many minutes. Then he went on and did very well after he got traded. So I mean, what do you see from actually Jackson and Duarte?
Well, and you still got O'Shea Brissett in there.
And Brissett.
Well. You've got some big men that are going to have to compete for minutes, and then maybe some of those guys become trade bait. As far as Isaiah Jackson goes, I mean, he's still young. He's got a lot of time to develop, and maybe that's a backup plan if you do end up trading Miles, or it could be trade bait as well, having him in there. I mean, you really didn't give up much for him. You traded 4 and 60 to get to 30. And then you got rid of Aaron Holiday, which you wanted to do.
That was fine. I was happy about that.
Yeah. As far as Chris Duarte goes, look, I like him as a player. I think he can come in. I'm not as concerned like everybody else is that, he's 24 years old. I mean, it is concerning.
Why was that such a big issue draft night? He's so old. It's like you still have, if he's a decent player, you still have 10, 12 years with him. Who cares?
Yeah, I think what people were looking at is, there's dudes that are 19 years old. I mean, he's a year older than Aaron Holiday, and Aaron Holiday's been in the league for 3 years, and you kind of can't duplicate that experience. I think Duarte's a great scorer. I kind of wanted Moses Moody when it found out that he was available.
That's who I wanted. God.
But the Pacers were dead set on Chris Duarte the whole time. That was the guy they knew that they wanted, and I think that they knew after the draft that this was a good pick because you had teams like the Spurs and the Warriors calling and saying, "Hey, we can do it." Like, I think the Warriors offered up Moses Moody and maybe a second-round pick to get Duarte. And
Really?
yeah, there was a late-night draft. I think Shams had a trade that was sent to the Pacers as they turned down. And I really think that the Pacers were going to trade that 13th pick to move to about 17th or 18th and get an asset back and then take Duarte there. But I think when they kept getting the phone calls from the teams around them, like the Hornets and the Wizards, I think they were 15th, and the Warriors saying, hey, we kind of want that 13th pick. They were going, okay, well, who do they want? Who are they going to take?
Right.
And then when there was all these teams that were interested in Duarte, they decided, okay, this is probably the guy that we should go with. He impressed us in his workout when he came in and worked out with us a week and a half ago. Let's go ahead and take this guy.
Right. I haven't seen much of him. I've seen a few highlights, but I haven't seen much of his game. Does he? He left the Dominican Republic when he was 16, I think, and I just don't know a whole lot about him because we're not on the West Coast, obviously, so we didn't get to see a lot of those games. Have you seen much of his?
I think he was very much like a Gordon Hayward. He can score, but he really upped at his draft stock by having a really good NCAA tournament. If you remember, Gordon Hayward projected early second round.
Oh yeah,
to coming in a Butler. Then they make that huge Final Four run, and he got all this national attention. Next thing you know, he's a top 15 pick.
Right.
Duarte's a guy who can score. He can handle the ball. I'm not sure where he fits in this rotation. It depends on T.J. Warren. I think Jeremy Lamb is probably going to be traded, so there's some minutes there that could come up. But I think he's going to be in that top 10 rotation of guys that maybe he gets 12 to 16 a night, and if he can average 8 points and 3 assists, I think that's something that you take in your first year. Is he going to be Rookie of the Year? Probably not.
Right.
But can he be a distant role player, P.J. Tucker type scorer that you've got one job is to play defense on one end and stop the best defender, and the other job, get a bucket? I think he could be that guy. I don't think he's going to be a superstar. He might not ever make an all-star team, but there's a lot of guys in this league just like him that are making millions of dollars over a 10 to 14-year career, as you mentioned, doing a lot of what Chris Duarte does.
Yeah. So I know we had the Lou Williams trade rumors before, and he's been traded already. God, I think that would have been such an amazing pickup for us. Are there any other trade rumors that you've seen that you think would be great pickups for the Pacers?
I think a lot of the trade rumors and what's going on has just kind of died down with free agency starting 2 days ago.
Yeah.
And teams in summer league are focused on that. You don't really see too many trades right around this time. It's kind of either happen or you might see a couple guys that you're like, this guy's on a roster, was traded for cash considerations or a second round pick. Great. But I don't think we're going to see too many trades here over the next couple of weeks.
Okay. All right. Well, hey, man. I think that's going to wrap it up, man. I really appreciate you joining us. You need to come join us live sometime. Come hang out with us, and we'll talk Pacers, we'll talk Colts, we'll talk whatever you want. And it was great having you, man.
Yep. Thanks, you guys, for having me, and we'll do it again here soon. We got a lot of Colts to talk about here.
Absolutely. I really appreciate it, man.
Anytime, guys. Take care.
Thanks, Tony.
Right. See you, buddy.
There it is, everybody. The one and only Tony Donahue.
The one and only Tony Donahue. No, he was great. I really he gives a lot of insight into really any sports. We didn't even his main thing is IndyCar. We didn't even touch on that. That's like his bread and butter. So,
but the good thing is obviously he's ready to come back and he's willing to listen and talk with us, and I think that's pretty incredible. He shed some light on the Pacers, maybe some things that we all didn't know or we all didn't think about, going into draft night or with Miles or things like that. So that really amps us up a little bit, I think. I know for me, being a Pacers fan, I was a little concerned about the Chris Duarte pick. Being from, the Midwest, obviously we don't get to see him a whole lot. We don't get to talk about him much. So he maybe with what Tony was saying kind of helps out with that. It's something that we can take on and watch him grow with the blue and gold on.
Yeah, definitely. I really hope that happens. So I think we're going to wrap this up. What a great show. Thanks to Tony Donahue for joining us. And Chad, you got anything to say?
Make sure, everybody, you stay tuned.
Like and subscribe and stay tuned. Have a good night, everybody.